So joining our program on this episode is Jamie Pherous, founder and chief executive officer of Corporate Travel Management. Jamie, welcome to the program. Look forward to unpacking your career and your journey.
Thanks, Rob.
I thought we'd start at the start, if we could. Born in Brisbane's western suburbs in the 1960s, you've obviously got a Greek heritage. Tell us a little bit about those formative years, if you could.
Well, I think growing up in my family, my parents were entrepreneurial, so I think subliminally over a dinner table they'd talk business. They were in business together in fashion, and whether I liked it or not, I think I took that in, and I think it was helpful in hindsight. When you're a kid growing up around a dinner table, that's all they talk was their business. You tend to take it in. So I think in those values, the values I always had was about working hard. And also, just how you communicate and bring people along for a ride if you're ever going to do your own business. I do remember those sort of comments, yeah.
And from there, I read that, like you said, some of the early influences in your life were your parents who are in the fashion industry. Walk us through the importance of some of the lessons that they taught you, and I think in particular that your grandfather taught you about cash.
Yeah, I think they both taught me. My grandfather used to live across the road, so I was very lucky. He always taught me that cash is king, and I think, interestingly enough, although I was 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, I've never lost that. So when we look at the way we run CTM, we run it with a very strong balance sheet. We always have. We don't have debt on our balance sheet. We never have. It's interesting, isn't it? But I'm sure we'll come to that later, but that got us through COVID unscathed. I think the other things were about just sheer determination and relentlessness and stick with things. It's about hard work and work ethic, and when you work, good things will come. They were probably the key messages, I think.
As I understand it, you attended Brisbane Grammar School, graduating in 1985. I think you've spoken previously about your experiences at school. What were some of those like?
I love school. I really enjoyed school. I enjoyed the friendship, the teachers, sport, everything about school. I think the takeaway from school that I got most out of was whether you like it or not, your best friends you make at school, that whether you like it or not as well, they sort of form you or shape you because of the personalities. And the good thing about those friends today is that even if you don't see those people, the key takeaway I always get is you can go and see them tomorrow. It's like you just jump back in after 10 years. They never judge you. And I think those values are really important in terms of loyalty, not judging, just having a network of friends or a network of anything to rely upon, because sometimes running a business is a lonely place. And that's probably the best values I got out of that. So it was a good experience for me.
From there, you followed in the family's footsteps of being involved in business and studied a Bachelor of Commerce degree at the University of Queensland. I think you majored very much so in law and statistics, if I'm not mistaken. Tell us about that period of your life. I came across a quote wherein you said, "I was always in a rush to get ahead and make money." Why was that the case?
I think it was my ethic. To me, uni, I look at it it was just like a means to an end, and couldn't wait to finish and get going. That was the mentality I still have. In fact, my mother said to me the other day, the bold things I used to say about what I was going to be. I don't even remember this, but she always said, "You're always just in a rush to get out there and get ahead in life." And so I think I finished at the age of 20 in university and went from there.
If I'm not mistaken, you had your eyes set on becoming a stockbroker, and this was obviously late 1980s, so the prevailing economic conditions would have been difficult. What interested you about business and about wanting to become a stockbroker in particular, do you think?
I love business. I loved businesses and companies, and I felt I would have been okay at that job, actually. Ironically, now we're listed, so I see it from another side, but it is what it is. I mean, it's like sliding door moments. That one closed at the time it was the October crash, if I remember. So I had to take a different path, but it's all worked out in the end.
Correct me if I'm wrong, you then joined Arthur Andersen, I think around about 1989, and you were there for a period of some 5 or so years. You worked across audit, financial consulting and business services. Walk me through this aspect of your professional career. How did you find the experience at Arthur Andersen?
Yeah, they were a great company in their day. They were very bold and aggressive in terms of risk, which meant that if you worked hard, you could get ahead quickly. It was a great place to work. I got great opportunities as well, so I learned a lot about business. And again, going back to what my father used to say, every go to work, and you can work or just learn. just have that right attitude when you go. Everything you see and learn, you can learn from. So for me, it was interesting because you'd see so many different businesses, some parts and facets of that business. So I think you started to build up a subconscious case study of what you liked in an organisation, that you thought, if I ever do something, I want to replicate that, and things you didn't like, and the things you'd probably work hard at not having in any future business that I might have done at the time, thinking about it. So in that sense, it was a really good opportunity. I also got to travel. And I was lucky. I got to travel quite a bit with the company when I was young, and that's what really opened me to travel. I thought there seems to be something that's not quite right with corporate travel, and maybe I can do something with it.
I just want to pick your mind as to the exposure that you had to so many different businesses during your time at Arthur Andersen. What did you find successful businesses did well, and what did you find that, some businesses that you saw that you wanted to avoid some of the mistakes that they made? Yeah,
it was hard when I was a junior to see every part of that business, but what I did notice, often you're sitting in the company's rooms for it could be 2-4 weeks. The cultures, the ones where it was more of a people culture thing, how they motivate, how just different cultures. You can always feel a culture. It's very hard to articulate why a culture at company A is better than B, but you can feel it, smell it when you're in a room. And that's one thing I took away. And part of that was communication, just about, I saw people that would repeat or parrot a couple of key things for their staff or teams, and that obviously wasn't lost on me.
As you said, you also had exposure to travel during that time. I think you travelled across Asia and Middle East, and I think PNG as well at one point. Walk me through some of the experiences you had in sort of having exposure to businesses on an international scale.
Yeah, again, I mean, some of the work I was doing was really interesting. It was like improving businesses or turning businesses around that weren't doing well. It was a great, fascinating look at. It was a privileged job, actually. Although I wasn't a senior there, it was a privileged job to look at these things, and I got a lot out of it. Again, just learning about. That was more about some things were cash flow costs, some things were revenue, just how they operated, waste, supply chains. It was really interesting for me, actually.
And then by 1994, you made the decision to leave Arthur Andersen and become involved in a travel business that had launched some months earlier. What were the origins of this business, and how did your involvement come about?
Yeah, it was a guy I knew, had a small business there, who was looking for someone. In hindsight, you do some crazy things in your life. I left a really good paying job to do. Everyone said I was mad. There was no money in travel. But I came along knowing what I've learnt. I thought I could add some value. That took a lot longer than I thought, of course. Never works out like you think. But I think the key takeaway, again, from that was I had travelled and I had really strong views on what I thought was missing in corporate travel. It was... There was, you never lose a client because of good service, right? I think that's the rule number one. And most of the things that I used to deal with when I was at Arthur Andersen, a big company, was call centres. Technology didn't work, and there was no accountability for savings. So those things, when I had this opportunity, I thought that as I was travelling anyway. I was frustrated when I was travelling, being a traveller and a very large corporate customer. And for whatever reason, I can't tell you why, I just felt strongly about it, and doors open and this opportunity came up. So it was a tiny business that was playing around in leisure and other things. We just stopped it and started with corporate, and the rest is history. It actually went really well pretty early.
Give us a sense, if you could, as to, just for context, as to the global travel management industry at the time. I think it was dominated by 4 global players. How does a small startup out of Brisbane go up against these sort of incumbents that are so powerful?
Yeah, it's obviously when you start, you think, well, what's your point of difference? And very clearly, as I said earlier, you don't lose a client offering good service. So it was really about high service, giving options, being there when things went off the rails and so forth, and that because we couldn't compete on price, and that worked. So there was a niche for that, which again goes into where we are today. Those same big guys, typically it's a call centre. They don't really empower their staff to think outside the square for the customer, and I think that's wrong.
I read that one of the first customers, I think the first customer that you had in that business was a Queensland coal company who decided to take a chance on you. Walk us through the jubilation and adrenaline that you had once you'd finally, after prospecting for so long, finally landed on a customer.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting. We were dealing in very, very tiny, small fry, really cheap economy fares, and these guys came in and said, okay, we want to go first class around the world for 6 of us. So it was pretty exciting. I think that one trip doubled our sales for the month, I think. But it was really exciting. It's adrenaline like still today. I mean, I'm not money driven, I'm goal driven, and I still get a kick out of winning good customers, and I still hate losing big customers. So that's a good thing. In terms of the energy I have for the business still, but yeah, it was a really exciting time, and I always have special time for the people involved in that decision, because they got us going and they put us on the map, and the rest is history. We had truly a dream run in the beginning. We never went into debt. We never had to get overdrafts. We just grew.
I want to get a sense of, say, the ensuing decade after that first customer. How did the business evolve? How were you able to leverage your relationships with that first customer and start to build a customer book?
I just think from being reliable, being there, being professional, and telling and being transparent. I think they were the key things that all of the above that helped us. And of course, we had a really good run. We won a lot of business, and then customers said to us, well, if you're in Sydney or Melbourne, we'd use you. We'd have this same sort of. We wanted something a bit different. So, that's when we started to either get other like-minded people or open ourselves around the country, and that's really what happened.
Just as an aside, and perhaps it's not as well known as the CTM story, but I read that you're also a co-founder and major shareholder in an online platform business called quickbeds.com.au, which I think was sold to Flight Centre Group in 2003. What was the genesis of that business, and then how did the deal with Flight Centre come about?
Oh, it was a long time ago. I think it was, again, online booking, but we created it for the agency or the travel network, so that there, being an accountant background, that it would also be accountable. So it was, in its day, it was a bit different, and no one really focused on that for an agency or a big agency network. So it seemed to make sense for Flight Centre, but I really got a taste for technology and what it could do, particularly automation, user experience, and I think, and that's over 20 years ago now, but that really set up that, or sort of, for me, was the formulation of how important technology with good service could be in travel. And so it's funny how everything in my stepping, so if you have that attitude of trying to learn from experience, now I think about it, was quite formulative for me at the time.
Following significant growth of the company throughout the mid to late 2000s, you made a decision to float the business in late December of 2010. Walk me through why CTM was an attractive business, why you saw it was an attractive business to float on the stock market.
Yeah, well, firstly, I think to float, you've got to float for the right reasons. If you're floating to take money out, it doesn't really work, but we floated to have access to capital, to expand our business globally. And again, the feedback was, as we went around Australia, it was, gee, if you were in the US or Europe, we'd use you too. So it was a natural sort of progression in terms of, I mean, I never thought about that when we started, that this would happen. But we knew that to go and acquire businesses, we wanted to get the best beachheads we could in each region. They had the same entrepreneurial and cultural, flair as we did. And the best way to do that was to list. Secondly, I think the good thing about listing is when we looked at it, the ASX 500 was all our potential clients. So I remember at the time, customers didn't want to talk to me about travel, but when we said we were listing, the CEO would go and have lunch with you. So those things are really helpful, and I learn a lot from our customers going into that listing. But that's why we listed, and I think because we listed with the view to expand and grow rapidly, it was a good outcome for us.
I think it must be said here as well that in the listing, I think the business had a market cap of about 70 million, and it was listed at $1 per share. Obviously, it's grown significantly since then. Market capitalisation now exceeds about 2.2 billion, revenue of 500 million per annum, and like I said, operations across the globe. Reflecting on the past decade or two, how much of the growth of the business has been driven by acquisition, acquiring companies, versus how much do you think's been through organic means?
Yeah, I think now it's certainly, as we've gone through that progression, organic is by far and away the most now. But in the early days, you've got two choices. And again, strong believer in global. Everyone thinks you can take a model here and take it overseas. It's very hard to do that, right? And you've seen a lot of wasteland in the Australian companies that have tried that and failed, and often they've failed because there's something about the local culture they don't know. So our philosophy was always to buy the best and fill it in terms of geography in a region. And our goal was to get just to the right amount of scale, which for us at the time we thought was about $1 billion of sales in each region. And that's what we wanted to get to. And then we're really going to focus on organic growth. And it's funny, I've gone back and looked, we've just done another 5-year plan looking forward from here. But I always go back and look at our strategy plans every 5 years, and we said that all along, that was what we were going to do, and we actually did it. And then at that point, we'd really focus on organic growth. So I think, to build out a network, the best thing was to do it that way. And what I'm most proud of today, in fact, is I look overseas in the markets we're in, we are certainly a leader, and in some places I think it's fair to say we are probably seen as the best. And I'm really proud of that across our whole team, we've been able to take a model that was Australian-based and be successful overseas and mix it up with the overseas guys is always a good thing to do as an Australian headquartered company that's difficult to do.
When you are acquiring, like I said, the best of the best businesses, how do you go about the integration piece to make sure you've got the same culture here in Australia as you do globally?
Oh, we've learned a lot. I think selection's really important. We've all learnt the lessons of not buying the right culture and the impact on the business, which is the people and the customers. So that's something we really focus upon. We want people that think the same way, particularly customer focused. So if you're customer focused and you really care about your staff, if you get those bits right, then what we try to do is then go through the motions in terms of communicating what we're going to do, how we're going to do that. And often you've got to make some hard decisions, but it's for the greater good of the business moving forward. So when I look back, that's the most important thing. And then it's just being very, very honest and straight with the company you're acquiring about what you're going to do, and don't sugarcoat it. And that's been the best lesson, so that people know where you stand. And by knowing where you stand, you get greater respect for being honest.
You mentioned something interesting before, and that's this 5-year plans that you put in place. So what's the genesis of that idea, and what have been the benefits in having a long-term plan every 5 years for the business?
Yeah, I think particularly being listed, and particularly the way it's going these days, everyone's so short-sighted, looking at quarters and half years, and it's not a right way to run a business. I mean, if you want to, let's say, for example, our goal is to double our business in the next 5 years from where it is today. If we're not thinking about the things we have to do today that are going to, formulate the years 2, 3, 4, 5, we're sort of missing the point. So typically, a good business, you have your team operationally executing the 12-month plan, and you've got a small few of you thinking way ahead of that horizon, and it's a nice place to be. You've got to have the time to do that, but I always know we do the best when there's a headspace to do that, and I can correlate that over time. We tend to do the best. So, you look at the last few years for us getting through COVID, not just reducing the business, but building the business back. It's been a really challenging and difficult pathway that whether you like it or not, makes you look short-sighted. But we're really back to looking long-sighted again. I feel very comfortable. When we're in that mode, we tend to do well in terms of compound growth and compound performance.
It's a good point you raise, how do you navigate some of these challenges? I mean, this is a business and an industry that's affected right across the globe by so many of these sort of major issues that arise, be it geopolitical issues, economic volatility, issues like COVID. How have you been able to navigate through, whether it's 9/11, COVID, oil price changes, whatever the case may be, and remain on a stable footing?
I think those things are normally short term. With even September 11, it was like a 3-month hit. The hardest thing, without a doubt, was COVID, because, in fact, we contingency planned what would happen. We were lucky enough that, being global, we saw SARS and a few other things early, so we had a big advantage over everyone else. We saw that impact, and we actually stopped as one of our strategy days and contingency plan what would happen if they closed down borders. The takeaway from that, we really had a much bigger focus on balancing our business out to have a lot more domestic and a lot more diversity in our customers. So if borders ever closed, we could get through just on domestic travel. And we also focused on what we call essential travel clients, those ones that have to work and operate irrespective of borders. So thankfully, you can tell there's a theme. I keep learning. I'm a learner in terms of past experience and what we do to be better. That really helped us through COVID because firstly, we'd known what to do. And we were in Asia, and our guys in Asia said to me, "No, Jamie, this is different." I remember we took a really big risk where we thought we're not going to wait for this to happen. It just looked different. We pulled out the plan, and we, when they said, we never thought the borders would actually close within a country. I mean, that I still think that's crazy. In hindsight, I still can't get my head around how those decisions were made, but they are what they are. We moved a lot quicker when everyone else just couldn't believe it. I remember probably 7 days into it, we had cut our cost base by 2/3 in really it was 7 working days. It was radical, it was difficult, it was very emotional for a lot of our people, and particularly for a lot of our law. I still get upset thinking about it actually, but it was a tough thing to do. But because we'd been through all those things, that really got us through. We had a plan in terms of what we could operate to, and we executed that plan exceptionally well. So for us, it was a great thing because we kept a lot of our core people. We had a lot of our core people come back. We placed people at some of our customers, which was a great opportunity for us. And now we're back bigger and stronger. In fact, it's a much bigger business than pre-COVID. I don't think anyone else can say that in corporate travel. I think at the moment we're running about 67% bigger than we were pre-COVID. So we did something right. And we never had to go into debt or get finance or all the other difficult things that are holding a lot of our peers back today. They're laden with a lot of debt and high interest rates because they had to do that to get through COVID. So again, learnings from the past again, but it served us really well. I must say, it puts in good for trajectory for the next 5 years. We're in a much better place we could ever be.
I want to ask you about innovation and your own personal leadership style. Where do you look to for innovation? Where have all these new ideas come from? You said you're a learner and you like to learn from whether it's this business or other businesses, but what drives your thinking in that regard?
I think it's just a culture again. So if you think about it, it sounds so simple when you say it like this, but if you actually listen to your customers and you've got the know-how, you're building technology and you've got the capability to do that, and you listen to your customers about what do you need, here, try this, what do you think, how can we improve it? By definition, that is innovation. The same thing goes internally, what can we automate or what's frustrating our people to automate? And I think that was embedded very early in the business. So, it was really bold for us at the time to go and build our own technology. People said, why would you want to go and build your own booking tool? That's mad when there's all these great booking tools around the world. It's turned out to be a great experience for us. So what that means is that we can move much more rapidly. We can tailor things for a market, specifically for a market, and we have the same thing going internally. But it's interesting for us too because we've come full circle. This year, and part of this 5-year plan, we've got a mantra really about what we're going to do to get back to our roots, because being large is about being nimble, and the first one is run it like you own it. We want all our staff to come in and the same thing, they come to work, do your job or go home, or think, how can I improve it for the customer and staff? And that's going to be a big, big drive in our business. The second one is automate and eliminate waste. As big companies, you get a bit of a fat cat sometimes, and we're no different. But first, it's about automating to free up more time to service our customers in this environment. The other one is just eliminate waste. What are we spending money for where we don't need to? We want to spend all our money on our staff and our innovation with customer technology. And the other stuff should be a lot more controlled. The last one is getting things done. Just get it done. I know already with a few emails in here, when someone makes a quick decision, we go at the bottom, get it done, hashtag. So we're going full circle to get back to our roots, because that's where big businesses fail. They tend to get too conservative, too internal, as opposed to focusing on the customer, and tend to lose their speed, and we don't want to do that. So I think we're kicking and screaming. We will be this year to bring that front and centre in our business, and I think if we do that, we'll have a really good 5 years ahead of us.
Clearly, over the past 3 decades, you've surrounded yourself with strong leaders and strong people within the business. How important have the personnel been to the success of CTM?
Oh, they're everything. I mean, people underestimate how important good people are in terms of culture, but also good leaders. I mean, we've all done it where you hang on to a leader that's not performing for too long, and you wonder afterwards why you did it for so long, knowing that when you do that, the worst thing you can do is the people that report into that person aren't happy either. So I think we all learn that lesson the hard way. I think it's really important. So we invest a lot in succession planning and identifying our best talent. In terms of what we call our HIPO program or high potential program. It's something we've had for years. It's been very successful. I'm most proud of the people who've come up through that quickly to be leaders. And you must do that, right? I mean, sometimes we have to go outside of our business to bring in leaders, but more for particular expertise we don't have. But we'd much rather develop our people from within. It's great for others to see that. And I know with some of the things coming in the next 6 months, we've got a few people that are coming through in senior leaders, which we will announce later in this year that I'm super proud of, because they're great people that live and breathe the culture, and they got the hunger that I like in terms of what we're trying to aspire to be in terms of that entrepreneurial culture.
What about the aviation industry, the aviation sector more broadly? Clearly it's changed so much over the past 3 decades. What have been the most significant changes in your view? I mean, everyone's an expert on travel and airlines these days and what they should or shouldn't be doing. How have you seen the market shift?
I think it's about getting more efficient. If you look at airfares, they haven't really, and if you take out COVID, where they've inflated a lot, airfares are actually pretty reasonable because the airlines have got a lot more efficient, the product's got a lot better. I mean, there's some great product these days where you can have a good night's sleep if you so want to and go a long way. I think the airlines are still, though, struggling at the moment with how that balance between customer facing and cost cutting, and you can't cost out your way to prosperity. Some of the good airlines understand if I have a good quality product that I've got sustainability over time, but they're all struggling through that. But I think in that sense, though, without a doubt, it's got better. Out of this country, I'd like to see a lot more supply. There's not enough competition. I've been living in the States the last 5 months. It's a lot easier to get on a flight. I'm going away next week, long haul out of Australia. I'm just so frustrated, like our customers are, about how little supply there is and how little seats there are and how expensive it still is out of this country. And it's something I hope our government do something about. Competition's good for aviation. That creates innovation, better product and services for our end customers as well.
Longer term, where do you see the opportunities for growth for CTM?
Yeah, it's everywhere, but largely the biggest markets of the world, North America and Europe. I mean, it's the good thing about our market, the addressable market's probably $1 trillion, and I think the top 5 maybe represent not even 80-90 billion of that, maybe 100 billion tops. So it's a huge market to grow into. It's highly fragmented, and I think the art to doing that is making sure that your value prop, which is the same thing we did 30 years ago. All customers want technology that actually works, that enhances user experience, backed by really good service for when things go off the rails, because computers don't do everything. I don't know about you. We have chat and AI. I don't want to be talking to chat when I'm stuck at an airport and I'm trying to get out of there. And thirdly, it's good data. How do I change behaviour so that if I'm spending 10 million, how do we do the things that we need to do to drop that to maybe 8 million? Those things are still relevant, and if we stick to our knitting in terms of looking after our people and service, innovating with our customers, and really working on data sets, and I think technology and the way that's going is really helpful for us, will be really relevant for a long time.
I want to ask you, there's so many more considerations that you have to make now as a business in terms of data security, in terms of ESG and diversity and inclusion, and where's the growth going to come from? How do you navigate that?
Yeah, it is a really good question. I think when we're smaller, it wasn't as big an issue as it is today. And that's the good thing about having the scale now in the listing, is that these things are really important. The investment, because of our scale, the investment we make in cyber, for example, and ESG. I mean, like what I'm really proud of is our booking tools lead the way. They win awards for the things we're doing, so our customers can identify carbon where it matters and how they can minimise that by choosing a better aircraft or rail over air and so forth. But as these things get bigger, the good thing about being listed is we're very sophisticated in these things, and they put us in good stead winning customers. Because at the end of the day, in the old days, it was just the megas, the monsters that could do that. I think we're certainly in that space, so that when we have big customers where it's really valuable to them, ESG, DEI, cyber, and all the other governance that matters. What we've done in our business, we've got experts that do that in our business. It's a big investment in our business, but it's also something that I know our customers value, because now they've got a choice in another company that's not the big same olds that they can feel comfortable, can choose us to manage those things, and that's been a big step and will be a big step in our growth moving forward.
Reflecting on the past decade or two, have you found that consumer preferences have changed for companies and corporate travellers?
Well, it depends where we are. I mean, I think there's no doubt that people are more environmentally conscious, and it's usually started in Europe where that's strongest. And again, it's come from feedback where I think some of the interesting things we've done, again, I come back to innovation. I do remember we had a customer forum where they said to us, look, we want to start looking at doing things a bit more efficiently about the environment. This is very early on, by the way. And we just don't want to see airlines and compete with it. We want to know, is it better to do trains? Is it more efficient in time, not just cost? And so we built that out. And that was a step change in our growth in Europe, actually. So it goes again that if you listen to your customers, including all their needs, and we know how important cyber is, right? So the investments we make there as well they're massive investments because how important it is for customers. So again, it comes back to the innovation. If we listen to those things, it's just that their needs are changing over time and we can build for those needs.
Without giving too much away, I think you were the first business in 2005 to introduce the carpool feature on the CTM platform. What is the next evolution? What's the next technical sort of evolution that you and the team are looking to roll out?
I think it is AI and what we can do with AI. It's really interesting for us. I think, I won't give anything away, but we know in an order of 1 to 10 where we think there's structural step changes in travel that we can be part of. And I'll keep that to myself for now, but there's 2 in particular that we'll be working on in the next few years that we think can be hopefully game changers for both our customers and for the business as well. Because the art these days when you've got a people business is you want to free up your people to do the things that are most high value to the customer. And that's where I think AI has the biggest role to play.
Reflecting on the past 30 plus years, what do you see as your proudest achievements?
I just think I'm goal driven. It's still amazing to me that I never thought it would be this big. There's no way. I mean, it just sort of happened. I think the fact that we've built out a business that's probably the 4th largest in the world in corporate travel out of Brisbane is quite extraordinary. We've locked a plan for the next 5 years. I'm hell-bent with our team on achieving that. Put the head down and hopefully lift it in 5 years and see what that looks like. But that's really the biggest achievements, I think.
Outside of work, where do you look to for inspiration or motivation?
I'm not very standard in that. I don't really look outside. I don't mean it to be a bad way. I think I do that on the basis that business is simple if you keep it simple. The techniques, it's not rocket science. It's just being super pragmatic and common sense and speaking that way. So in the past, I've looked for people that do that, but now to me, I get attracted to people that can do that. I want those sort of people in our business. Everyone wants doers and get things done. I think for me too, I say on the basis that I'm really conscious of work-life balance. Sustainability is important. I mean, leading a company, it takes a lot of energy. And you can see I probably from this interview, I still have a lot of energy, but I do that because I make sure I find time out. I've learned to compartmentalise many years ago, and that's really helpful. So in that sense, I don't spend much time outside of work thinking about work and how I do when I'm in work time. And that's not conventional, I know. There's no textbook that says to do that, but let me tell you, it works for me and it works for the business. So there'll be the takeaways. When I'm here, we're getting feedback loops from people, speaking, straight speaking or straight talking. And then when I'm not at work, rather than others do, they read a lot and have mentors. I just prefer to spend time with family and friends and not think about work, so I'm sustainable.
Just to close out our discussion, walk me through what the next chapter of your life looks like, both personally and professionally. What else do you want to achieve?
I think for now, I'm looking at the next 5-year goal, and I think if we do that, that would be great. To double our business would be an amazing achievement. We'll see where that goes. From a personal point of view, just keep living the dream when I'm not at work. Life's short. I do like to get time away. I'm still an adrenaline junkie. I still like to ski and surf and those things, and that's what really turns my mind. That's a one time when I'm doing both those things. I'm not thinking about work, and I think that it's quite therapeutic for me. And staying fit, right? You need to stay fit to have the energy. They're the things that matter. It's funny, I'm more conscious of that now than I was 30 years ago.
Jamie Pherous, it's been a pleasure having the opportunity to share your insights. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. Thank you.